I spend a lot of time reading emails that come into me from my community, the comments I get here on YouTube, and even looking at the analytics of this YouTube channel to see what does well and what doesn't do well. And from what I can tell, the theme that screams the loudest, the feeling that articulates how most of us feel, is not overwhelm or burnout. It's actually failure. It's failure to live up to expectations that we have of ourselves. And that is what I want to cover in today's video. So if you are an adult with ADHD, or if you're just an adult who is struggling right now in life, then I hope that you can take something away from this video that will ease your suffering in a way that perhaps you haven't thought about before. And if this is the first time you're landing here, my name is Karen McGill. I'm an ADHD coach and creator, and I'm here for the busy, ambitious brains who want to get schnizzle done, but they keep failing their own expectations of themselves. And to kick this off, I want to start out by saying that I don't believe comparison is a thief of joy. I actually think it's expectation. It's the expectation that we should be doing as much as other people, or that we should have as much as other people. That is what truly sucks the joy out of life, because it prejudges everything we do. That we should be a certain way and we should be performing a certain way. We should have certain things, and we don't. Or perhaps we do meet our own expectations, but other people aren't meeting our expectations for them, that they should be doing things that they're not doing or having things that they don't have. All of these expectations we have about life, whether they're directed towards us or other people, or other people's expectations of us, suck the living joy out of our life. And think about it. If we didn't have expectations of ourselves, would we be complete and utter losers? Or would it make you someone who goes in the direction that you're naturally inclined to go after rather than the things you think you should go after? That is what we are going to explore in this video, so stick around, because by the end of this video, I am hoping that you have a fresh and shiny new outlook on life that will make you feel a lot lighter about yourself and your journey in this world. So let's get into it. First, let's level set on what an expectation actually is. It is a predetermined judgment about the way things should be. So as you start out life and you go into an educational institution, it is the expectation that you are going to meet or exceed the expectations of that institution, which will then mark you as either smart or not smart. And then off you go into the world with that branding to do the best you can with whatever they said you had. That is an expectation. Expectations are not the same as having a goal, a desire, a vision, or a belief, or having faith in something. An expectation is a highly defined outcome. It's rigid. So when it comes to education, you are expected to exceed 50% or higher in your responses to a test in order to pass it. And if you do not meet that expectation, then you failed. However, if you approach school with the goal of completing all of your coursework to the best of your ability, with the intention of learning as much as you can, with the belief that you can do it, and the desired vision to do really well in whatever your choice of study is, those are different things. They all move in the same direction, but only one has a rigid outcome that can lead to failure. And that is where we tie in the ADHD piece here, right? Because ADHDers have this big tendency to believe that they're failing in life because they're not meeting expectations. And as we now know, expectations are just rigid, predetermined outcomes of what we think should happen. And it presupposes that we have 100% control of the outcome, which we never do. So if you have an expectation that you're going to lose 20 pounds before your high school reunion in 2 months, and you do everything in your control to lose that weight, but you don't lose 20 pounds, maybe you lose 15, then really you have not met expectations. You have failed to meet your goal of losing 20 pounds in 2 months. Now, I hope that you and I can now agree that expectations are not always what they're chalked up to be. And expectations aren't always bad. Two people going into a marriage may both expect fidelity and trust from one another. And hopefully they're both on board with that before the wedding. But the point there is that they've talked about it and they agree upon it. So in that case, expectations are a clear and beautiful thing. If your boss gives you a project and tells you that the future of your employment hinders on whether or not you do a good job with this, but gives you zero parameters, then that is also an expectation that kind of sucks because you don't actually know what expectations you're trying to hit. But if your boss gives you a project and says, I need this thing done by this timeline with this outcome, and this is generally how I want it to look, do you have any questions? That's a great expectation because there's no ambiguity there. And as you know, ambiguity is the kryptonite of all ADHDers. So as long as expectations are clear and agreed upon by all parties involved, then expectations are a beautiful thing. But outside of that, they become the biggest neurosis in our life that is completely unnecessary. And where I see this come up the most in the ADHD clients that I work with is their expectations of where they should be in their life in relation to everybody else around them. And that's clearly toxic for anyone. But when you have ADHD, you already have the challenge of not being single focused. You have divergent focus. That means that you're looking at things in this direction and looking at things in that direction and this direction, and you are not meeting expectations in any of those directions. But the problem is not that you're incompetent. The problem is that you are putting half-assed energy in all of those directions. So, of course, you're not going to be where somebody else is who's putting the majority of their energy in one direction, right? So you can either train yourself to be single focused, which is hard, not impossible for ADHDers, or you can expect that if you are somebody who is multi-passionate, you would rather invest your energy in multiple paths than confine yourself to one specific path. This is basic physics, right? If you're only going in one direction, you will go much further than if you are going in 5 directions at the same time. And it doesn't mean that one way is more virtuous than the other, because you could be a single pointed focused person and go on one path because you think it's expected of you. And you can get to the end of your life and realize that you have invested your entire life in something that you actually hated because you were living up to the expectations of the people around you that may have died 20 years beforehand. However, if you start your path of life with multiple directions without any expectation of where they're going to take you, then you can explore those paths with curiosity and understand which ones light you up, which ones don't, which ones drain your energy, which ones give you energy. And then you can start to narrow those paths down. You don't ever have to be a single pointed, focused person. But the more that you can move your energy in one direction, the further you will get in that direction. Again, that's physics. So if your expectations are not aligned with the laws of physics, then you are going to have a problem that you will never be able to solve. So instead, what I would love to do is help you navigate this whole idea of expectation with a little bit more clarity and a little bit more peace so that you can go out into the world in as many directions as you need to go in order to find the path that's right for you. So how do we actually manage our expectations so that we can live a happier, more peaceful life? Well, number one, we need to recognize where our expectations are. And again, they're neither good nor bad unless they are unexamined, in which case they can be problematic. So if you want an easy way to find expectations in your life, either the expectations you have of yourself or the people around you, or the expectations others have of you, is find anything with a should in front of it. And that is an expectation. Like, my husband should be doing more at home. My best friend should call me more. My daughter should come visit me every Sunday. My son should go to medical school because if he doesn't, then everything we've worked for is for naught. That guy should really get a job. That woman should not be wearing that at her age. My college roommate was a doofus. I should be more successful than he is. Why is he making more money than me? I should really get a facelift. So any idea, concept, belief that you have that has a should in front of it is an expectation. And that is a great place to start in terms of examining whether or not it's absolutely true. Should I absolutely be making more money than my doofus roommate from college? Should my husband absolutely clean up the kitchen after he makes a disastrous mess every morning when I clean it up before I go to bed every night? Yes, that one is a should. All of those other ones are up for debate, and it's up to you to decide what you're willing to accept or not accept when it comes to the expectations you hold of other people, of yourself, or the expectations that others have of you. And as long as all parties are aware and agree to the terms of the expectation, then rock on with your bad self. But for the rest of the shoulds, it's time to be looking at those ones. Who is it that said an unexamined life is not worth living? This is where we do that internal work to make sure that our expectations align with what we want out of life. The next thing I would do, especially if you have ADHD, is take more time to think through the goals that you set for yourself, the desires that you have, the targets for your life. Yes, it is true that we are not great at being single focused, but that doesn't mean we can't be more intentional with the directions that we put our energy into. Before you decide to blow up your life and start a new career or go after that next sparkly thing, I see you, ADHDer. Why not take a little bit of time to think, is this coming from a place of expectation, either internal or external expectation? Or is this something that I truly want for myself? And if it is something you truly want for yourself, be clear about that and go after it with a sense of trust that you are going after something that you are authentically interested in. And that is the tricky thing, because if you are attached to a specific outcome, then chances are you're going after it because of an expectation, either that you're putting on yourself or somebody else is putting on you, or you just think there's a social expectation that may or may not even be there, but you're going after it for a very specific outcome. And if that outcome doesn't happen, then you will think you failed. So beware of that. And the last thing I'm going to recommend, and I know it's going to sound squishy, but it is so important. So do not sleep on this. Whatever path you take in life, stay curious to how it makes you feel. I have spent so much of my life going after things because I think that I should, because it was a safe thing to do, or the right thing to do, or was a thing that people expected of me. And I never, ever, ever enjoyed those pursuits. Now that I'm in my mid 50s, I'm finally doing things that I love. It doesn't matter if I'm good at it or not. I am getting so much joy out of this. I know that what I'm doing right now, I would continue to do even if I won the lottery, because I get so much out of it. I'm not perfect at it. Some days it feels like work, but in no way am I doing this because I have an expectation of myself. In fact, I had to get over a lot of expectations I had of myself. And I had to get over all of the expectations I thought other people had of me in order for me to do something that I truly enjoyed. So keep that in mind. It is not always easy to choose the path of joy. And we all still need to keep a roof over your head. So I'm not suggesting that you need to live a life as a starving artist. But if you are always rejecting what lights you up in favor of going after the life that you expected of yourself or that others expected of you, you're going to come to a point in that life journey where you realize that you were on the wrong path all along and you were going after it for all the wrong reasons. And you'll need to course correct. And that can happen when you're 25 or 55. I hope it does happen for you, because the last thing I would want anyone to do is to spend their precious time in life living up to the expectations of others. That is a no-win situation, and you will never be happy doing that. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.